Every renter watching this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I helped my friend rent an apartment in 2 days, giving you everything you need to do the same and ways for you to actually increase your chances of securing any apartment before someone else, all in just 3 simple phases. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Brandon Chang and I'm a real estate agent at Corcoran in New York City. So phase 1 is the core 5 documents everyone needs to rent any apartment. Now every landlord mainly wants to see that a renter's annual gross income is 40 times the monthly rent, and they do this through these 5 documents. A copy of your photo ID, summary of last 3 bank statements, letter of employment that has your position, salary, how long you worked there, along with their contact info. Now, if you don't have this, you can replace it with a signed CPA letter from an accountant instead, your 3 most recent pay stubs, and last 2 years of tax returns. Just the first 2 pages would be fine. But if you don't have any of these, not a problem. You just need a guarantor who can show that they make 80 times the monthly rent and can show those same 5 documents. Now, if you want to speed up the process even more, adding a screenshot of your credit score, which you can get for free using Credit Karma, shows your reliability in paying rent on time. That is what landlords mainly value. And if you can show that, you may just get approved faster. So here's how we package this so we can apply right away. Take all these documents, convert them to a PDF file, store it in a Google Drive, ready to be sent to a landlord or agent, along with your move-in date, so you don't lose the apartment after you've seen it. And here's another pro tip. Name your files. For example, instead of a PDF file of a bank statement, let's say, being some random numbers or letters, have the file name match the document you're sending along with any relevant dates where necessary. Because the trick is to make it as easy as possible for the landlord or agent to review your application. And the easier you can make it for them, the more top of mind you become. However, chances are most renters already have these 5 documents, but you're not like all the other ones, are you? So, which leads us to phase 2, how to separate yourself from the rest. And just by adding these 2 simple documents can actually make your rental application stand out significantly. The first one being a reference letter from a previous landlord stating how long you lived there, the address, their contact info, and most importantly, what they have to say about you as a tenant. But what should they say? Think of something that you maybe want your previous employer to say about you when you were applying for your next job. Now, if you can't get it from a landlord, a reference letter from your employer is your next best bet. And the second piece of this are any screenshots or invoices of any rent payments that you have made in the past so you can actually show that you pay rent on time. Now, what's helped me simplify things was to look at renting the same way as applying for a job. You have your resume, which proves that you're qualified for the role in the first place. In the renting scenario, it would be your core 5 documents. Now, you also have reference letters, which gives an idea or reflection of who you are like as a person based off of a third party's perspective. And so just as how you would do the things to show that you're an ideal applicant, such as submitting references or even a cover letter for a job, those same activities can actually help you increase your chances of getting any apartment. But it's important to keep the sources of the references you ask for relevant and objective. Because obviously you won't have a family member be a reference because there's an inherent bias. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa would say good things about you. Or at least I hope. So let's get tactical for a second by ranking these. Landlord references are the best. Below that you have employers. Below that could be from your professors. And so the more unbiased and professional the source, the better. Now that we covered everything you need to secure any apartment and ways for you to increase your chances of doing so, on to phase 3. And I had someone ask me this recently. How do you know which documents to get first? Well, we noticed that all of these documents fall into one of these 2 categories. The ones you ask from others and the ones you get by yourself. So what we got first were the documents we asked from others, which looks like your references and your employment letter. Since it will take longer for another person to send those over, it's best to prioritize those first to avoid any delays in actually finding a place you want and seizing the opportunity and getting it. Now, once you get those out of the way, what's left is what you can get by yourself. That you should be able to get the fastest. Now, if you ever wondered how apartments get rented out in less than a day or so, Here's the #1 hack for how we got an apartment in 2 days immediately after applying. We prepared all these documents before we even started looking in person or online. So the moment that we find something, there's no time wasted in actually securing it. And I hear this a lot about how fast apartments come and go. And while that may be true, it's for that very reason why we did it this way. Because I want to make sure that I can control for all the controllables first, which is having all the documents ready, and then leave room for all the uncontrollables, but have all my bandwidth available so that when an apartment pops up, or if multiple people end up applying for the same place, we're still prepared enough that then the landlord's like, damn, they sent that fast. It's because I want my friend to get the apartment. Because who's more likely to get it, right? The one who takes a day to send over the documents, or the ones who can send it over the moment they leave the building? I think you know the answer. And that's the difference. Because on the flip side, let's say if we were to start looking for apartments first without getting the essentials. What we're doing is window shopping. And I had someone ask me this, and they were like, hey, what if I miss out on something while getting the paperwork? Couldn't I just multitask? And I bring this up to share my beliefs around FOMO when apartment hunting. It doesn't kick in until you've been made aware of it. So for example, let's say if someone was doing work over the weekend and saw that their friends was going out on an Instagram story. Chances are they might want to go out now because one, it's more entertaining than doing work. So they rather put off the work and make up for it later. And secondly, they don't want to miss out on the chance that something could happen. So let me ask you, what if that person never went on Instagram or even saw the story? Would they feel like they're missing out? And even if they were to go out with their friends, would they be doing work at the same time? In both cases, probably not. And I see the same things happen here when it comes to doing the prep work beforehand. And while most can, obviously you could. At the end of the day, it's not that it's difficult or easy to prep, only that it's too boring. And here's the cool thing about this too. You only have to do it once. So I bring this up to encourage you to not treat the paperwork as just some boring checklist, but to treat it as stacking the evidence that you are who you say you are and that you are the best bet for the apartment. And I know I'm getting a bit jazzed up about this, but it's because I don't want you making the same mistakes that I've made in the past when I first started. And just like what I used to do, I've seen so many people care more about finding the right place first rather than doing the things to secure any place. And so when some people are even missing one document, let's say, I see them trying to talk their way through with their words, hoping that their promises can make up for the missing pieces when applying. It's not about what you say you're going to do that builds a trustworthy reputation with a landlord, or anybody, matter of fact. It's about what you've done, so that what you say is believed to be true. And while this sounds obvious, it's hard to do in the moment, I get it. So rather than focusing on trying to find something that might just come up in the future, hoping that you don't miss out, I'd rather focus on the things that matter most that I could do now, so that missing out isn't even possible. And so I want to reset the bar for some of you. From my experience, the core 5 documents, just having that is the bare minimum. What you add and do on top of having those 5 is what sets you apart when things get rough, because you win only by adding and never missing. And because so many people aren't doing the prep work to get the essentials beforehand, it leaves more room for you to do the opposite, so you can be quicker to the draw even if the other person saw the apartment before you did. More for you, right? And so I'll leave you with these two final points to bring this home. If you want to get approved and get the apartment over someone else, the way you do it is by preparing and bulletproofing the evidence you're using in your application so it will be unreasonable for you to lose. And secondly, the easiest and fastest way to getting any apartment, wait for it, is by doing all the boring work first, which is getting all your documents before the search. And I'll give you the TLDR for this. 5 minutes of prep when renting will do more than trying to razzle-dazzle your way through with your words once you start. So the quote Sun Tzu, every battle is won before it's fought. So win before you start.